it's time to go. So yeah, this is good. I'm excited to see you and just have a chance to catch up. I feel like it's been ages since you came to Portugal and we had dinner. And
it has. It was a while ago now, but no, it was lovely seeing you back then. It's been a nice summer since. How's your summer been?
Well, not so great. My father passed in August.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry to
And,
hear that.
I don't know if you recall, but he lived here in Portugal with us and had his 3 years here. So he had the life all of us could wish for. He got everything. He told me when in his last days that he didn't have a single regret. And so, he lived his life to the fullest in Portugal. We were able to make him as happy as possible. And I miss him terribly, but at the same time, he was 85 and I know he had a fantastic last chapter. So
yeah, I need to send you my condolences. It must have been hard. And you know what? It doesn't matter how old they are, still your dad, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's been a tough summer because we've grown exponentially. I mean, the amount of growth we've had, we're up to 16 people on the team now. And we are just going through like levels of service that we weren't expecting. And so the summer just felt like it just disappeared between that and then the growth and then just constantly kind of evolving to absorb what customers need. It's been very busy. So
I can only but imagine if it's anything similar to what we experience with the amount of inquiries and clients that register with us. It's just constantly like you get busier and busier and busier, and often find myself working at 10, 11 p.m. at night just to try and help cater and service them, which we enjoy. We have absolutely no problem doing it. It's only we sometimes feel bad when we have our clients on the other side of the pond that message us at 2 or 3 a.m. and hopefully they realize why they don't get a response until 2 hours later. Yeah.
Well, that's the problem is you get that ping in the middle of the night and my eyes will be like, poof, what's going on? And then I have to be like, no, I can't answer. It's like 1 a.m. I can't do that.
Well, the hardest ones that we found are the clients in Hawaii, because that's like, I think it's like 11 hours.
That's a tough one.
It's very tough to help, but we managed to get a few hours in the day either side of us.
It's like a small crossover.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I mean, look, it's been great working with you guys as well. We've had the feedback from our clients who have used you has been, really good. Everyone's been happy. So we've obviously we try and recommend what we can. If your service, we got clients looking in your area and vice versa with what we try and do catering for your clients, really.
Well, we've got 11 people that have already joined us. Hello. Thank you for staying and catching up with us today. I know we're going to give it a couple of more minutes just to make sure we're on the hour for our start time. But thank you so much for coming in, and we look forward to our conversation today. So Ben, this is a crazy time too for currency, because it looks like everything has started kind of moving in the dollar favor again a little bit.
It's been I think the last week the dollar reached roughly about a 5 to 6 month high, which has been great, really, and great for the dollar sellers that we obviously deal with. It's a double-edged sword, maybe not so much for our clients that are maybe emigrating, but the ones in the States. The reason the dollar's strengthened is because the markets are expecting interest rates now just to stay a lot higher, but not higher than where they're at, roughly around these levels, but for a longer period of time.
Definitely.
Whereas previously it was expected that the interest rates might start to come back down towards the back end of this year, early next year, but that's been pushed back further. So that's just strengthened the dollar again. So really good news for anyone that's obviously on this webinar and potentially looking or thinking of moving over to Portugal. So
absolutely. We have some new folks online joining us. Thank you so much. Hey, Raymond and Joel, you're almost here. Yay. Lily, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad you all are here. Natasha, looks like you're calling in from Kentucky by the way of Dallas. So Okay. And hey, Melinda. Hi, Melinda. It's good to hear you, see your name. Hello. So, yeah, we're going to answer a lot of questions here, and we're just going to give one more minute so that we start directly on time. But thank you all for joining us. We're really excited that you're here. And Ben and I have had some fun conversations talking about what's going on in the market and the trends. Lots of, I don't know how you keep up with it, Ben. I mean, I look in like quickly, and then I'm just like, wow, that's a lot. That's crazy what you have to keep up with.
It's a major minefield. I mean, it's currency is very different to, you know, even equities and things like that, because there's so many factors that affect it. It's not, you know, you look at a share price, a stock for a company, and you can wait for their earnings. You can look at how the company's performed, but with currency, there's so many different factors. So it's it can be difficult.
It can be. Well, I think we are going to go ahead and get started. So let's officially welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to learn a little bit more about currency exchange. And I'm Colleen with Portugal The Place. I am so excited that we are hosting Ben today with Spartan FX. And we are just here to share some information, answer questions, and hope to kind of open your eyes up to how to navigate this part of your relocation process. Just to give you a little bit of background, Portugal The Place is a full service relocation company. We are located in Alcobaça in the center of Portugal. And my husband and I are the co-owners and founders of Portugal The Place. And we've been helping over 500 clients now relocate and support them during their journey so that they can have a soft landing when they get to Portugal. And Ben, you want to share a little bit about your
and the reason we can work so closely together is because many of the clients that emigrate have to move their funds over. So my company, I'm one of the directors at Spartan FX. We've been around now. Well, all the directors have actually been in the industry for probably nearly 15 years plus now. So we're very experienced with moving money internationally from one country to the other. We are based in the UK, just on the outskirts of London, and we try and offer a very personal service just to help you navigate moving funds from the States over to Portugal, while making sure that you get a very competitive rate, which is better than what your banks would offer you. But then also, it's really more on the service, trying to, if we understand your requirements, we keep you updated, let you know when rates are going in your favor, maybe against you, just to try and help you manage the currency side of it and maximize it, or minimize any rate fluctuations going against you, really. So it's just about helping you save money and moving funds over in a safe and secure manner.
I think that's great, Ben. And that's what's so important to us, is finding partners that help create a sense of security, especially for most of us. Moving large sums of money around and going through this whole process is intimidating. In many cases, this is everything for us, right? Our life savings, our investments.
We are, and I think because of our experience, we are more than aware of that. I mean, clients ask me all the time, how like, it's so daunting. How do we deal with it? And the truth of the matter is, it's not actually our money, but we understand what the money means to you. And really, if you think about it, this is the biggest currency exchange transfer you're ever going to make. And we are aware of that. So when you're emigrating or just buying some real estate internationally, and you're not emigrating, but it's a second property for a vacation home, we're more than aware of that. So for us, making you feel comfortable, and the security side, which we explain everything to all of our clients to give you as much peace of mind as we physically can, it is worth its weight in gold. And the other good thing with us is the fact that we're always at the end of the phone. You know, we're not an online service.
You're not just a link that you have to click and hope to get.
100%. So if clients contact us, we're asked to contact a client from someone who may have asked us to speak to someone from a recommendation. We'll always call, we'll always email, and we're like that the whole way through, from the start of the process to the very end.
Well, I thought we could do some scenarios, kind of walk people through things that they may be experiencing. A lot of our clients have the similar needs and concerns. And so we've kind of gathered together some situations. And I thought maybe I could toss that out to you and walk through them. One of the first, Chanel, hi, good to see you online. We've got a question right here to talk about the timing of moving funds, optimizing that timing to give, really to support the timelines for buying a property. So I'm going to add that to the first scenario, and I think you can incorporate that kind of in, because most of our clients have sold a house in the US, or they have already, moved their investments into a pot of cash that needs to be part of the transaction. And the money's like in a regular bank account, and they need to move it from that bank in the US to Portugal. And maybe their bank is saying, oh, there's no fees for a transfer. But in many cases, we know that's actually not the case. And how do they hide those fees? And then how do you manage those timelines when you're working with third parties or other banks? How can you help support that process?
So firstly, we get clients all the time say to us, oh, well, I'm just going to use my bank because they've told me there's no fees. There's just a small wire fee, which is $20, $40, whatever it may be. And we say, okay, look, we then explain to them, well, actually, there is a fee involved, because they might be telling you that there's no fees. It's just going to cost you $40 to move the money to Portugal. It's a really great and cheap service. But ultimately, their fee is in the exchange rate. So we've seen banks in the States be anywhere from 1% up to 5%. So it can be a very, very costly experience if they're not aware of this. And most clients, I suppose, well, no, not most clients, but there are some clients that are just not aware of how exchange rates work. And they go, well, this is the rate the bank's given me. That must be the same everywhere. But actually, the bank buys at one level and sells to you much, much lower down. And the bigger that percentage spread is the more, in essence, I suppose, the bank is kind of making, because the bank will buy at one level and sell below it. We do the same. We buy at one level and sell below, but we make sure that the spreads are nowhere near as wide as what the banks are. So we're regulated there's regulations in the UK. We can't offer the same as what a bank would, in essence, if it's as low as 4 or 5%, because our whole service is there to make you a saving over the banks. So right. The banks, it can be misleading because they're not aware really of, clients are not aware of how wide their spreads can be. But so that's the first thing. So every bank does have a fee. So when they say there's no fees, it's just it's just a wire fee. It's not actually that true, because they make their money on the exchange rate. So if a client was moving, let's say $200,000, and the bank was taking, 2, 3, 4%, they can be taking $4,000, $6,000, $8,000 off the client, which is
so it's really about educating yourself on what the currency exchange is, where the process, where they're making their money. Because in my experience, banks have never done anything for free. So there is something somewhere where they're going to make.
We're very, very much so. And then, with us, we try and be as transparent as possible. We again buy at one level, sell below, but we'll always make sure that the rates are significantly better than what the rates are significantly better than the banks. So there's always savings for clients, and straight off from the beginning, we can explain what the fees are, or what the rates the client would get, and we can work everything out for them if they need it in that way.
And can you talk about how you deal with the tight timelines? We've had situations where the promissory contract is signed, and all of a sudden the sellers are getting antsy. They might have another transaction pushing right behind them that they're thinking, ooh, maybe this would be faster because it's not international. And the next thing you know, they're like, we need this money in like 4 days. We need this money in 5 days. How do you manage these tight timelines when you're moving?
It can be difficult when time is of the essence, because at the end of the day, as much as quick as we can be, we are dependent on banks wiring funds when their customers ask them to do so, and then also how long it then takes for the funds to arrive with us. Now, there are certain banks out there that we are aware of, and often if I'm speaking with a client, I will always ask, who are your funds with? Because we've got some experience now of dealing with clients over in the States for a good few years now. We're quite experienced as to which banks are quicker, which are slower, and the processes that many of the banks offer. So as long as we know which bank a client is with, we can often say to them, well, if you make your wire today, your funds should arrive, some of them within 2 hours. Others can take, they're never really more than 48 hours, but we have experienced times where a bank has not really understood what they're doing. So the problem with, not the problem, but in America, it's such a vast country. And there are some banks there that have never, and when I say banks, some credit unions where the individuals there have never had to fill in a form for an international wire in their life. And they have someone come in and it's like double Dutch to them. They just don't really understand. And we've only really experienced problems with, I would probably say, Wells Fargo, where
Wells Fargo is the big one. And unfortunately, and one of the things I warn my clients about is if you're moving money from an investment company like Charles Schwab or Fidelity or Edward Jones or somewhere like that, you also have to ask some really good questions, because many times they use a third party and it can end up being Wells Fargo in our experience.
Yes, you are right there. So the one thing that the investment accounts are quite good at is when they're sending dollars through to us, they Fidelity, Schwab, they're pretty good in terms of just moving dollars. We have seen experiences with Schwab, for instance, where a client has purchased euros through them, needed the funds there quickly, but actually they've done the conversion. They haven't actually wired the funds for 2 days. And I don't know if it's because they don't store the euros, they don't get them quick enough, but it was like a spot deal. Took 2 days. The client thought the money would be released the same day, next day. And then by the time it got to Portugal, you were talking another 2 days, 3 days down the line. So you're talking nearly, but by the time you take the weekend out, it's nearly a week before the money was there. Whereas take Schwab, for instance, if they move dollars, if a client's got their funds in their account with Schwab and they say, please move the dollars to Spartan FX or the client's named account with us, it arrives within 2 hours. And then we can convert pretty much straight away and have a payment in Portugal, all being well, the next working day. There are some anomalies when we make a wire, whereas, again, we've got tracking on our systems and we can see on the payments, we can move money to the same bank. Sometimes it shows it's there in 3 minutes. Other times it shows 25 hours and there's no correlation as to why one is quicker and why one is slower. Sometimes it's just down to the bank crediting the funds when they want to do so. But in essence, it's a much quicker process.
What I find with optimizing time is trying to make sure that everyone is prepared, have the conversations, be ready for the worst case scenario, and then work as hard as we can to try not to push up against those really hard deadlines, to be allowing for a bank holiday in one country can be different than a bank holiday in another country.
And we see that regularly because we have bank holidays in the UK. You will have them in Portugal at different times, and clients will have them in America at different times. So there's 3 different countries, and we have had times where it's been a bank holiday in the UK. And a client said, well, why is the money not left? We can't physically send it on this day because it's a public holiday. So it goes after midnight the next day. And then we've had times where clients go, well, why is the money not shown in Portugal? Well, it's a public holiday in Portugal, so the banks won't credit any funds. So it's about meeting everyone's expectations. But what we do find is, as an example, if you had recommended a client to us and you're like, look, the seller is getting a little bit edgy, they want to see the funds, a lot of the time we can at least provide you, if we work closely with someone, we can provide you with the proof of payments. You can provide that at least to the seller and go, look, the money has been sent. It's come from the US, so it's not as quick as someone just moving it from domestically in Portugal.
Right.
Meeting their expectations. And I do find, obviously it's case by case, but most people, if they can see at least the wire has been made, it takes the weight off, right? And it gives
Well,
them.
and we've had that exact scenario multiple times where for a variety of reasons, there's like a couple days lag that has been a holiday, or the person's account, it just isn't posting even though it's been sent. And you're exactly right. It's been really valuable to have a team handling the transaction, because I've reached out personally and said, hey, can you help me get some kind of proof? Is there something? I know realtors have reached out saying, could we just send this so that the sellers, the people owed the money, can see that it has all been done, and that now we're just in a process of the bank posting it. So that human contact has made the process a lot easier. I've had a couple of clients using electronic wire transfer services, that have had some hangups where things have disappeared, and we haven't had anyone to help. We've just had to wait.
Because there's no one to speak to.
Yeah.
There's literally no one at the end of the phone. And it's not only that, a client can expect their money to go, and they can do everything to the best of their goodwill. And some of those online companies just won't send the money until they have extra documentation that they don't ask for at the beginning. Whereas at least with us, part of a KYC, knowing your client, because we're speaking with everyone, we're aware of what the requirement is, how much they're doing, what they need, and we get all that extra documentation through at an early point. So at the end, when the money has to be released, there's hopefully it's minimal questions. So it just goes like clockwork.
So we've got a question here from Lee. Hey, Lee, can transfers and conversions occur in one single transaction from source bank to payee, or does converted money need to be stored in Spartan FX client's account first?
Can transfers and conversions occur in one? So with us, the way it works is once you've got your account, you make your transfer in dollars, we convert into euros, and then we make that onward wire. So I'm not sure what it means in terms of the transfer and conversion come one single transaction, but to us, that is a single transaction in the sense of you buy your current, you send your dollars, you buy your euros, and the wire gets made. Out of the total amount of euros you purchase, though, you can make as many wires as you want. So if you purchased 100,000 euros and you only wanted 30,000 to go out now, and us store the other 70, we can. If you want 30,000 to go to a seller and the other 70 to your own bank account, we can do that. We can split it up into as many wires as you need once you've purchased those euros, and there's no extra costs as well.
So that's a lot about having the human part of it. That's a lot about having the human being there, so that you have an account manager if you have questions, or there's something that you need answered or you're concerned about. That's the part that's different than having just an online, kind of like a link. You can actually help. You would be able to get on a call or email and really walk people through the steps.
Oh, very, very, very much so. And there's actually so much more to it than just helping you. Like, we help you move the money from the States. So whether your money is with a credit union, one of the investment arms, if you can get us their wire form, we'll fill it in for you. We'll make sure that it's all done correctly so you don't have any problems. Then on the other end, the one thing that we do find is extremely useful, which many of our clients aren't even aware we do, is we get bank information all the time. Please make a money transfer to this account. That they've just received an email from a lawyer, a real estate broker, and they've never verified it. They've never verbally called to check it. And there's so much email fraud in today's day and age that any new bank account, we will verify it with our client. But then, as an example, imagine you had emailed it to a client to say, oh, send the money here. We'll call you, or we'll call the lawyer and ask them, have you verbally confirmed this with your seller? And often that they have, but there are times where a real estate broker goes, oh no, I just got emailed to me. So can we make sure it's all legitimate? The email hasn't been hacked, because there's nothing worse than if a client's funds went amiss through no fault of us, but a client hasn't verified it or a lawyer hasn't verified it. And
right.
we do hear about these horror stories. So that extra protection, we think is extremely important. And again, an online system, if you just go in and put the bank details in and they send it, and someone's email has been hacked somewhere,
Of course, you're at risk then. So that double layer of protection is really important. Do you see Jeffrey's question there? I just wanted to make sure that we.
Yes, we
Thank
do.
you.
So with your FBAR reporting, we can, well, I can't fill in the forms for you, but I will provide you with a statement and you can use that. And we've been advised by international tax advisors who are based in Portugal and in America that although the accounts you have with us, many clients will leave funds in the account for a relatively short amount of time. And then once you've purchased your real estate, you may use us for smaller regular transfers, but in essence, the big one, your funds will kind of come in and go out quite quickly. It does absolutely no harm in reporting it, because you should mention you've had the account, you're not leaving funds there for a long time, but yeah, always report it and we'll provide you with any info that you need statements wise so you can report it correctly.
Thank you. So I know that we wanted to talk about the exchange rate movements and buying property, and kind of, can you show something to help us explain the Euro USD kind of transfer? I believe you had some information that we could share.
So I think Sarah has kindly put a graph up there for us.
There we go.
So obviously, I think that is over the last, looks to me like the last maybe 6 months or so, a graph of where the rates have been. So you can see it's been fairly volatile at best. And this is if you guys look at it the euro dollar way. So you want it then the exchange rate to be as low as possible. So where you see the 1.06 back in around, well, it's probably the turn of the year, actually. That looks like year to date. So maybe January. That was the best time to move your funds over. So last year, where the dollar was the strongest performing currency out there, it was below parity. So you were getting more euros, you were getting more euros for your dollars. You want the rate to be as low as possible, but that gives you an idea of how volatile it can be. And when you're talking purchasing real estate or moving life savings, and some clients that might be, you know, $50,000, $100,000, other clients that can go into the millions. And the difference, if you're catching it when it's at 1.06 or 112, can make a big difference. Obviously, it's difficult because we don't have a crystal ball. And with currency, there's so many factors that affect why the dollar will get stronger or while it will get weaker. And a lot of it is on what the markets, well, let's say over the last year or so, it's what the markets are expecting interest rates to do in the States and in Europe, really. So you'll notice if we just go back to July time 2023, where the market was, we kind of seeing that trend where it was like down at 108, and then it's kind of shot up to 112, and then we've had in the last, say, month, 6 weeks or so, a big strengthening again for the dollar. Now previously it was expected, if you go back to like June, July, that the US were going to start cutting interest rates by the end of the year. Now, although they're still talking about what may happen in 3, 4, 5, 6 months time, it's what the markets expected. So every time there was talk about interest rates falling, the dollar would get hit, because in essence, the higher interest rates are in a country, the stronger that currency is. So although people don't want to see really high interest rates, but if you're looking at moving, the higher interest rates went in America. And one of the reasons why the dollar strengthened so much last year was because they were the first central bank, really, was America, in terms of hiking interest rates quite aggressively. So before Europe, before the Bank of England, before many others, and that's why the dollar got so strong. This year, then, it was expected that you were going to see interest rates get to a top level and then start to tail off slightly towards the back end of the year. So when it got up just after July to 112, it was because the markets were really expecting interest rates to start falling. Then the market's expectation changed, and it was actually the economy is still performing very well.
Right.
Inflation is coming down, but not as quickly as maybe the Fed would like. So it was then so it's now kind of perceived that interest rates will stay at these high levels for a longer period of time. So well into next year. And then if we start to see a recession in the US by the, whatever it might be, mid next year, end of next year, that's when you might start to see the dollar. That's when you start to see interest rates come down. That's when you'll see the dollar maybe weaken further. So after it was perceived that interest rates will stay higher for longer, just after that July time, you can see how it went from 1.12, started to come back down to 1.08, in the 107s. And I think the dollar had, I think it was maybe like a 10, 11, 12-day consecutive winning streak against the euro. So it was just going from strength to strength to strength. Now, obviously, you don't know what's around the corner.
Right, of course.
In a month's time, 2 months' time, data in the US might start to turn. So all of a sudden, where the data is still very strong in terms of wages are going up, people are still in employment, unemployment is not falling, people are still spending money, the retail figures at sales are still going up. So while it's like that, the Fed have to keep interest rates higher because their main goal is to bring inflation down. So if interest rates are higher, in essence, people have less money, and eventually parts of the economy will start to turn, people will spend less, and that will start to bring inflation down. Now, although this is the expectation now that interest rates will stay higher for longer, let's say around Christmas time, it's the worst retail figures ever for Christmas time. And then all of a sudden in the new year, massive layoffs, big companies start laying off lots of staff, and then they're starting to see the impact of the higher interest rates. That's when you'll start to see the dollar start going back up again to 110, 112, 114, etc. So although,
so can you just real quickly, can you tell me, so if you have clients, let's say that you have a client that has a promissory contract signed and they know that they're going to buy a home for 500,000 euros and they've transferred their dollars over into their Spartan account, they paid their promissory contract down payment. Are you walking aside them to help them know when they should be looking at converting? Like, would you be having these conversations with them saying, you know, this is a really good time for us. I believe we should be looking at converting some of those, or are you going to depend on the client to say, I'm ready? How do you do that?
Right. So it depends on the client. So we get two types. We get one type of client that goes, Ben, I'm keeping an eye on the rates every day. I'm aware of what's going on in the marketplace. I have Bloomberg on all day, every day. I don't need any help. I'll contact you when I'm going to use your service because you're going to make us a saving bet. You don't need to keep calling me, telling me it's up, it's down. I'll let you know when I want to do it, and I'm fine. Then we get other clients that, to a certain degree, find the information that we can provide very useful. Obviously, it can be, because the markets move so quickly, it can be difficult to contact every single client at the exact time a rate goes up or down. So, like last week, for instance, we sent an email to all of our database just telling them the dollar's at a 6-month high.
And Ben, we actually, just real quick, Julie didn't get her question answered earlier. It cycled through. So I just wanted to catch you because this is a perfect opportunity. She hasn't had any issues with transferring from Schwab to Madrid. And so she's just curious, like, other than the safety net of making sure, you know, that you have a human on the other line, what would you say the benefit of using Spartan is in her situation? And thank you, Julie, for the question.
So firstly, I don't know what the issue was with Madrid, but obviously we will provide our clients with all the information they need to go to the bank to try and get them to resolve what they need to resolve to get the funds in the account ASAP. But then the main benefit is if you're using Schwab, we'll make sure that we undercut them and we get you a better rate. So the advantage really is making your dollars go further. So if you're, you know, however much you're moving, our aim is to try and get you more euros than what Schwab would for the same amount of dollars.
And how is their money protected? So let's say they're moving that money to you. We know kind of how banks are protected, but what kind of licensing or protection?
All of the accounts that we set up for our clients are completely segregated from every other client. So we provide clients with accounts in their own name. Those accounts are basically safeguarded by Barclays Bank. So in the event that anything was to happen to us as a company, the funds are completely safeguarded. And one of the main reasons why I suppose why we use Barclays Bank PLC is one of the tier one banks in the UK. Let's say if it was doomsday in the UK and there was a massive financial crisis and the bank was about to go bust, you could only but assume that the government would bail them out. I don't think, they'd just be far too big to
Right.
let them go adrift. So I think your funds would always be extremely safe, safeguarded by Barclays. And the fact that your funds are not kept in one bit, like I have competitors out there that the accounts they have for clients is one big massive pooled account. So your funds, my funds, anyone's funds will all go into that one account. So if anything happened to that company, it'd be a minefield working out whose funds are for who.
Right.
Leave us, everyone has their own IBAN, their own account number. Everyone's funds are completely segregated. So anyone that was to come in, they would be able to see whose funds are for which client, and it would be much, much easier and safer, we feel.
I'm going to thank you, Ben. We're going to jump back to another. I'm just going to answer Tim's question real quick. He is asking if it's possible for a conditional rental agreement that goes into effect after the D7 gets reviewed. And it's not possible. And the very specific reason for this is because the rental agreement has to be licensed and it has to be filed with finance. So they have to go in and show that it's been funded. So the only way the owner of the property can register this lease with finance is to show that you have signed all the paperwork and that you have paid the lease, the first, last, and security, whatever your agreement is. And that finance piece of paper that comes from finance that says it's registered is what you have to submit with your D7. So the one thing you could do perhaps, and it's a very rare occasion because there's really no incentive for the landlord to not get paid when you're renting it, is maybe negotiate in a month or two saying, I'm not going to be there. Could you delay? But in most cases, there's such competitive market in Portugal, there's no incentive for an owner to say, oh, sure, we'll sign an agreement. You only have to pay a small amount, and then you can pay me the rest after you get here and start your lease later. So in most of the cases, you're going to find that that's going to be something that the owners just don't see any reason to do. And you have to have a registered lease that is funded for your D7 packet. So I hope that answers that quick question, Tim, and thank you for shooting that over.
I was going to say, on that note, Colleen, as well, we have had clients that have paid landlords for 6 months, a year before they've moved, before they've had their visas, because it's a specific property they wanted.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to really get in the game to get that piece of property that you're hoping to reserve. That actually leads me to another question that I get quite often. If you now have had an account with Spartan and had the great experience, you've moved your money, and let's say you bought your property, is there any other service that Spartan can help with? A lot of folks have pensions, they have to navigate their bank accounts. Are they able to use your service to keep converting into euros?
Yeah, of course. So once they've emigrated, once they've purchased their real estate, or if they're like Tim, if you wanted to pay for your rental agreements, we can help. We do all of that. And then thereafter, we're one of these companies that is always happy to help a client with their smaller regular transfers. So we get lots of clients that will receive their pensions, social security, whatever it may be, into their accounts in the States. They wire it over to us. Some will do it on a monthly basis. Some will do it quarterly, every half a year. So however they want to do it. But yeah, it's something we're always happy to keep an ongoing relationship with our clients, help them with the smaller wires. And from that, we find as well, when we keep that relationship going, they then, we're in their mind all the time. They keep recommending us. So it's something that we're always happy to do. Yeah.
And so it looks like Lee's asking, do you have a mobile app for the transaction?
No, unfortunately,
no.
So yeah. So the way our service is geared up, where we are different to the online companies, is it's all about that personal service. So for most clients, we will be on the phone with you. We do conversions with you on the phone, so nothing's lost in translation. We create the payments for you, so we do the majority of stuff for you. If someone specifically wanted to go online to do everything themselves, they can do, but we tend to roll that out more for our corporate clients, just purely because we have had, occasions where private clients have just been messing around with the online platform and decided to buy €500,000. They're like, oh, only needed 50,000, and it can be quite costly. So
you don't want to make a mistake in that level, for sure.
it does happen. So we tend to do most things for them, but again, most of our clients like us at the end of the phone, like us doing the conversions for them, because it's part of that service. That's the type of service that we're geared up for. Like I say, if someone really just wanted to be left to their own devices, we can do it for them. But we prefer to have that relationship with the clients.
So Ben, before we wrap up, I had a couple of quick questions. Tell me, are you able to buy any currency? So for example, if somebody is in Portugal and they have all of their money in euros, and for some reason they need to return to the United States, or they need to send a large sum back, are you able to support that transaction?
So it goes both ways. Dollar, euros into dollars. And I think there's like 40 currencies, 50 currencies that we can help clients buy. So all the big major currencies out there we can tend to do. We can deal with clients in different countries. So not only in America. I know the majority of your customers tend to come from America, but Canadians we can assist. Australia, the Far East, Scandinavia. So all of those different countries we can help clients, and then each one of them has their own currency that they need to buy or sell. So yeah, even we've had clients in the past that have moved from America to Portugal, and then they might be buying some, I don't know, artwork from Sweden. They might be importing something from the Far East. We can do all of that for them. It's absolutely no problem.
So how do people contact you? How did they set up an account? How do they reach out to learn more?
So they can obviously go to our website, spartanfx.co.uk. They can make an inquiry. I'd actually probably say that most of our business is referral and recommendations. So we actually do very little advertising. So most of the time, if someone is recommended to us, we'll reach out to the client. We'll then, once we've spoken to them or emailed them, most of the information will be in there. I think we also have landing pages. So for yourself, for instance, I'm not sure if it's through your website. You can find us as well.
We have you as a partner on our website.
Then you can make an inquiry via that straight to us. But in essence, most of the time, someone will introduce somebody to us. They will either call us, send us an email. We'll respond with everything they need. To register, they're very simple. Straight on our website, they can register, and then we offer that personal service. We try and make sure they have one point of contact. They won't speak with 5, 6, 7 different individuals. There'll be one person will look after them, unless that individual is one of my colleagues is away. And then from start to finish, we understand what you're doing, and it just works very well that way.
That sounds great. Are there any other questions? We're happy to take closing questions if there's anything we missed. And so we are basically so thrilled to be partnering with Spartan. There are a lot of options out there, and I encourage you to get educated and look at all the different ways that you can handle your finances. It's really a big part of the move, and you don't want to get caught on your back feet when you're trying to, get prepared. Even if you're renting for a year and you're not planning to purchase the home right now, or maybe you don't intend to purchase, you still are going to need to move money into your Portuguese bank account. You're still going to need to transfer funds from the US to Portugal. So it doesn't have to be just, 3, 4, 500,000. That's not necessarily the only option. If you want to have someone there to help you through the process, navigate that's still available to you. And also, if you have any other questions when it comes to like reliability or contact, if you've got concerns about, we mentioned briefly that like credit unions or smaller banks can be really tricky. If that's concerning you or you have any questions, those are the kind of things to reach out, because we can certainly talk to you or help you kind of navigate that process. Mostly it's time. Just add some more time to prepare.
And to add on that, it's never too early to contact us. So, we had clients last year where the dollar was so strong, they weren't moving for 2 years, 3 years. But some of them were like, well, I have, most of my money's tied up in my property, but I have some money now. So I just want to buy some, because they know they're definitely going to be moving. So it's worth capitalizing when you feel the rate is really good. And you're kind of hedging your position a bit.
Right.
And then the other thing with what you mentioned with credit unions is the earlier we speak with customers, the earlier we can give them as much information on their bank, how easy it is to make wires. So we had a client just last week who called us up and said, my money's with my credit union. I can't move it. They won't do any international wires at all. So a lot of the time when we're speaking to customers at an early stage, we will then recommend, well, look, if your money is with a bank that won't make any international wires at all, open up a Schwab account. If you do that while you're in America, you've got a US address, you can give proof of addresses. It's pretty straightforward to open.
Right, and that'll protect them. Looks like Jennifer has a question here about your hold on the dollars and the conversion.
Yeah. So we will. All money gets held in dollars until they specifically want to convert. We do not do anything automatically. So every conversion in an ideal world will be done with them on the phone. If they can't be on the phone, we can do things over emails. But in essence, funds do not get converted unless you want to, because if you just sent your dollars and we converted it automatically, you might say, well, I didn't want it done now. So
right, exactly. Well, that wouldn't be that wouldn't be part of the process. That's a great question.
And the funds are in their account, so it's not, we can't just access them to convert them. It can only be done on your say-so. So, and that will be done on a recorded call for your protection and ours. And from the minute a client has funds with us, they are in full control on when it's converted and when any wires are made.
That's great. That's great. And thank you, Natasha. I'm glad that got your question. Are there any other questions out there before we wrap up? So we are, Ben, we are working with just so many people that are looking to relocate to Portugal. And we're going to save this webinar on our YouTube channel and make it available to folks. So if they didn't have a chance to be here, we'll have it available to share. If you want to share this out there, Ben, also, I know that you were planning to keep it online as well so that people have access to it. It's really important for us to feel that people are getting supported when they're making this move. It's such I've done it myself, relocated, done everything through the process, and I know how intimidating it can be. And I wish I would have known you. I wish I would have known you because I would have more money. So that would be.
You told me about your experiences when we first spoke about how daunting it was, how difficult it was with the banks, and like I say, we just try and take that. I mean, it's still stressful. There's a lot of money.
Oh, it's still stressful.
But we try and make it as easy as possible for you. So that's all we can do. And look, as well, on our side, it really is the type of service we offer. It really is a 5-star service. Our reviews, they're really good feedback because we care about what our clients are doing, really, and we just want to make this journey experience for them as good as possible.
Absolutely. And that's why we're aligned with you, because we feel the same way. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you again so much. Thanks to Sarah for helping getting this all put together. Fiona from our team and Sarah worked together to get this started. Mimi, great to have you here. And everybody that joined us tonight, thank you so much for being a part of this. And I know we will talk soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was great.
All right. Ciao.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.